Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another hip and happening episode at B2B Breakfast to Business. And this is your morning girl, Bea Lim, also the Managing Director of Team Asia, your Saturday breakfast companion for all of the conversations we want to have, not only about what's happening in 2020, oh my goodness, guys, it's already December, can't get over, but also what are the big plans for 2021, right? And that's exactly why we are here today. As I mentioned earlier, guys, I can't believe that it's actually already the second or third week of December. We are actually going to be closing the year pretty soon. And we're left wondering, right? What's in store for us in 2021? It's an understatement that 2020 was a year of a lot of different changes. We've said it here before. It's been one roller coaster after another. But despite all of the peaks and valleys and stuff, we've seen a lot of triumph. We've seen a lot of great things happen. We've seen great ideas, resilience, and a lot of passion and really grit and determination from so many different individuals, companies, and industries that are just ready to fight it out, right? To be able to see how we can pivot, strategize, and move forward into this quote-unquote now normal, next normal, future reimagined, whatever it is that you want to call it. we're locked and loaded to make that happen. So one of the things that I really wanted to check in on and make sure we get to talk before the year ends is one exciting, super dynamic, diverse, very inclusive, and very, like what I mentioned earlier, hip and happening, which is the startup community. And I really felt here at Breakfast to Business, we really felt that we wanted to be able to talk about this because it is something that is really also helping push our economy forward and creating a lot of great talent and innovative solutions that we all need in this future reimagined. The word startup, unicorn, incubator, they have all been like super mega buzzwords in previous years. And we've actually seen them hip and happening here in the Philippines. We've also seen a rise of more and more startups, not just globally, but also locally. In fact, if you guys have been monitoring and following your K-dramas, right, there was even a huge, big online focus on startup through that K-drama, the new K-drama series, right? And we wanted to talk about it because what is it really about? Are startups going to continue to rise in the next few years? Is it something that we are going to see that would be one of the pillars, the strong pillars for recovery in 2021? What does it mean for industries out there to have these great, amazing startups? And so I couldn't think of anyone more perfect to be in this Breakfast to Business show than this wonderful and amazing woman. She's such a power woman, guys. Like, I am so amazed by her. She is a good friend of Team Asia. We've had tons of amazing conversations. We met because of the International Innovation Summit about a year ago. And we've just been partners ever since. She has given me a lot of thought and insight on the Philippine startup economy. And I wanted to make sure that she gets to share her insights and also a lot of the ideas that are propping up for the Philippine startup economy in 2021. And she is, ladies and gentlemen, such an inspiring leader of the Philippine startup community. We have here our dear, amazing superwoman friend, Miss Natasha Bautista, the operations head of Kubo Innovation Hub. And I'm super excited that she could join us here today. Hey, Natasha! Good morning!
Good morning! I super love your energy. I'm like trying to keep up. Thank you for the great intro. Well, good morning to you and good morning to our listeners.
Absolutely. Of course. I need to make sure that our energies match, Natasha. This is like hip and happening. That's our goal. That's our goal for today. Hip and happening. But seriously, Natasha, thank you so much for joining us. I know it's the year end, so alam ko
Yeah.
naghahabol tayo. There's just so much going on. But thank you so much for making time to talk about this.
Of course. Anything startup, I will love to talk about anything startups talaga. I mean, anything to promote Philippine startups, anything to promote our economy, diba? I'm super game for it.
Absolutely. I love that. And I'm sure our listeners are going to love that too. Before we deep dive into the Philippine startup economy, because I know that once we do that, wala na. We'll just keep on going. I just wanted to do like a quick pulse check, Natasha. I just wanted to check up on you. How are you? I mean, 2020 has been crazy, but how have you been? How have you been coping with the pandemic and all of
Right.
the busy schedules brought
Oh
on
God.
by this crisis?
Actually, I didn't even realize it's already been over 8, 9 months since the lockdown. Has it been? Or more than pala 10 months na pala, no? And it's
10.
already the year end. It's already 2021 in a few weeks. So definitely been busy. I think that's one thing that I'm super grateful for is that we have been busier this year supporting startups. Maybe I'll discuss that later on, no? But it seems like just this year we have more people and organizations supporting our startups because nga, everyone's just trying to help each other out, no? So I'm very grateful about that. But other than that, personally, I've had my fair share of ups and downs. I think in the beginning of the quarantine was like, ooh, excited to just be locked down in the house. And then I got crazy. I actually was also locked down on the beach for 5, 6 months. I just got back to Manila, finally back home. So just enjoying also being at home, but of course also really worried about our startups, but at the same time doing my best to really support our startup community.
Absolutely. I loved what you said, doing our very best. I think that that's one of the things that I am really proud of everybody. We are just really doing things best we can. And I think we need to
Yeah.
honor everybody's commitment to making sure that happens. I mean, it's been a tough, really tough and rough ride this past year because we're all experiencing this, not only from a business standpoint, right? But personally, right? Having to go through a pandemic this with this magnitude and this scale has really changed so many things. So I love that phrase, and I just wanted to say thank you for reminding people, hey guys, it's okay. We're doing things best we can. You better be proud of yourself as well. And I'm so happy you got locked down in a beach. I am so jealous.
Yeah, it was crazy because like the government kept saying, okay, it's ECQ, MECQ, MGCQ. I'm so confused now. So but they kept changing it. So I was like, okay, let's just stay in the beach. And I'm seeing a lot of our startup entrepreneurs actually leaving Manila. One good thing that the pandemic really brought about in this community is that we can work from home, we can work remotely pala. Certain things like meetings pala can be done in an email. So I'm grateful for that. But yeah, that's one thing that I'm seeing happening. Our entrepreneurs are moving out of Manila, going to the provinces, going back to the provinces, which is a good thing. It's good for the
Yeah.
country too.
Absolutely, it's countryside development, right? And I love
Yes.
what you highlighted also. It's that this pandemic and the lockdowns have also taught us that there were so many things that we've been talking about. I mean, Natasha, you've been in so many
Mm-hmm.
of these conferences.
Oh
Now
God.
these are the trends, these are the things that we're gonna do, and then suddenly we were all, I know that it was like a big experiment. We were sort of like tossed into it without a choice, but apparently kaya pala natin. We can actually
Yes.
do it, right? So
Yes.
yeah.
It taught us what's essential and what's not. Like it really in a lot of things, not just in business, not just in our own companies and work, but also like in personal, diba? Like which ones are not essential. Hindi pala essential bumili ng all these different kinds of clothing. Diba? It's not essential anymore. So it's a good learning lesson. Definitely a tough year, but it taught us a lot of things also.
I know. So it's been a learning year. I think it was a year full of
Mm-hmm.
learnings. I don't want to say that it kept on testing us while it did feel like that, but I think that we all learned a lot from it, right? So many
Yes.
opportunities, so many changes, but more importantly, life lessons that,
Life
we
lessons.
will be bringing in to the new year and for the rest of our lives. All right, cool. So Natasha, let's start our conversation on the Philippine startup economy by talking about Kubo, right? Before anything else, I just really wanted to be able to talk about Kubo. You are part of it, a huge part of it. So, can you share with us what Kubo Innovation Hub is all about? What is it that you do, and what is that vision that you have for this industry?
So Kubo Innovation Hub, it's so you say Kubo as in the Bahay QBO, right? But it's actually spelled as QBO. And the reason behind that is, how like Filipinos text like, very shortcut. So if you say nandito na ako, it's D2AQ. So the reason behind the Kubo is as in the Bahay QBO, it's QBO when you text it, right? So very, very Filipino. But like the Bahay QBO, we literally we used to before the lockdown, obviously, we used to house Filipino startups, meaning we have a co-working space, and some of the startups would go there for free. But more importantly is we develop Philippine startups. So Kubo Innovation Hub is the very first, and I think the only public-private initiative that is catered towards Filipino startup development, developing the country when it comes to technopreneurship and innovation. So we are the National Innovation Hub, and our founding partners are Ideaspace, JP Morgan, and the Department of Science and Technology and the Department of Trade and Industry. So we are really built to help startups. We're a nonprofit foundation that supports startups. So if you don't know Kubo yet and you're a startup, and how we define startup is it's technology enabled and it's innovative. It's testing something out. And if you don't know Kubo yet, then please do check it out, because we have programs and services for startups that we offer for free. Everything is for free. We don't even take equity. So now you'll feel the benefits of your taxes if you've experienced the Kubo programs and services.
No, absolutely. And guys, I second the motion. If you guys are a startup and you don't know Kubo yet, please get to know them. They are absolutely amazing. We've seen the work that they've been doing, and I would really love for you guys to check them out. So, Natasha, you did mention that, you have all of these different partners, right? And it like what you said, it's really a combination of private and public partnerships. Is this essential to actually really propel a startup economy forward?
Yeah, one thing that's sad about the Philippine startup ecosystem is that we're still so early. And we're still so early, meaning we have very few startups, tech startups, right? And very few enablers that are supporting startups, and it's fragmented, meaning kanya-kanya. I'm pretty sure that some of the listeners right now would probably have an idea, or would think that there's no or very little support given to startups, but that's not true. We're just fragmented. So it is important. It's actually the responsibility. We took that responsibility in Kubo as the National Innovation Hub to really get different stakeholders together. So we do not only have the support of government, but we're able to bring in all these different private partners like JP Morgan, Ideaspace, the US Embassy, Youth Business International, Investing in Women, all these different private partners and different organizations to come together to really support startups. Even universities and LGUs are also coming in together. And you're seeing this trend right now, this year, because of the pandemic, we are forced to work together. We were talking about kanina, we talked about how we are helping each other out. Everyone's trying to help each other out. And you're seeing a lot more of this now. You're seeing some of the startups working with government to provide them solutions, like contact tracing or these QR codes. So you're seeing this, and I'm happy that we're finally getting to that point that we're working together and that we don't have to do certain things or come up with certain solutions on our own.
Absolutely, that's amazing. Because like what we said earlier, this situation has actually also brought about some opportunities, and this just brought a lot of people together, which is a really good thing. My next question for you is, what is the nature of startups in the Philippines right now, Natasha? And what are some of the notable startups which are homegrown, so to speak?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like I mentioned, so the Philippine startup ecosystem is very new, I guess. We're probably, if Singapore and Malaysia's ecosystem is what it is now, we're maybe 10 years back. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, because there's, in the same sense that there's first movers advantage, there's also the second movers advantage, which is we learn from the different ecosystems, and our growth is insane. We're accelerating our growth already, because yeah, we already know how to do this. We're copy pasting some models from outside the country. I could say that there are maybe around 500 startups all over the country, around 500 really good operational tech startups. And usually the industries that, usually the top industries of these startups, they're usually in financial technologies. That's why there's coins.ph, and there's Paymongo, which are really the homegrown tech startups that are doing quite well, especially this year, because fintech, cashless is such an in thing now. You don't have to go to the banks anymore. Another industry would be Edtech. So Edtech, because everything's online also, but also because education is so important in Philippines, right? So Edtech, like education.ph, that's also another startup. Another interesting industry in the Philippines that's very, very unique as compared to other countries is how social we are. I mean, diba, Filipinos are very, very social. We're our Facebook, our Twitter, our Instagram usage is so high as compared to other countries. And that's why social apps like Kumu also really thrive. So Kumu is also one of the, probably, hopefully going to be our first unicorn in the country. Yes, cross fingers. Our very first unicorn in the country, and they're getting there. The startup founders, actually, we incubated them in 2019. They were part of our program when they didn't really know that many people in the country. But Kumu is doing so well. That's another homegrown startup that we should look out for, and one of our I guess our Filipino like heroes that will really lead the startup community to inspire the startup community, inspire startup founders.
Absolutely. I'm so excited. You mentioned how social we are and how important education is in the Philippines, and I'm so glad that all of these startups are coming together to provide those sustainable solutions for us, right? Make sure we're continuously connected, but at the same time learning and sustainable. At the end of the day, I think that that's what we want: a sustainable economy and society, and all of these solutions are pushing towards that. So Natasha, I know that we sort of talked about this previously when you started discussing the Philippine startup economy, but we all know that COVID-19 sort of really disrupted a lot of the things that we are doing. What were the pain points that you feel our startup economy encountered, and how are our startups actually coping? Or if it's the other way around, what are they experiencing?
Yeah, maybe I'll provide you some numbers though. So we did a report with PwC. It's actually available online. So just Google PwC QBO COVID report, and it gives you a good glimpse of how the startups are doing. In the report, some of the highlights that I want to discuss is that 48%, so almost half of our startups, feel threatened by the COVID-19 pandemic. 62% say that they only have a cash runway of up to 6 months. That's quite a lot, no? But here's a bit of good news. 23% view it as an isolated concern. So a fourth of the startups don't feel like they're affected. And 21% of the founders, so 1/5 of the founders, say that the outbreak resulted in an increasing demand for their services and products. And you can see this in startups that are in the financial technology education technology, agri-tech, and e-commerce, right? Because now everyone is forced to use their product or their services because you have no choice. And then last but not the least, 49% or at least half of our startups are offering new products. And this is a good indication of how startups are, how good the startups are doing, well, some of them, right? But one thing that I always advocate about startup founders is that they're very lean, they're very fast, they decide fast, they pivot fast. They fail so many times, but they get back on their feet right away. They learn from their mistakes. They never stop learning, right? And that's why I've seen also some of our startup founder friends that, we're offering this particular service, and then just in a span of 1 month, automatically they just change. They offered a different thing, and they're doing so well. So that's a quick glimpse of the startup, the startup community during COVID. Again, that's also very different. That's not the same for everyone. Some are doing well, some are not. And I keep going back to what I said already and from the very beginning. That's why we're here. We're doing the best that we can to support them. And I'm so happy also that this year we got additional partners that provided us even additional funding, additional support to also further provide support to our startups. So yeah, that's what's going on lately with the startup community.
That's awesome. Thank you for providing the numbers because it just gives you a glimpse of both. It's like a balancing act, right? Yes, there were some pain points encountered, there were some challenges around. But hey, there's also a lot of growth, a lot of amazing opportunities that they just really grabbed, right? And pivoted very fast. So Natasha, we just actually completed the Philippine Startup Week. Oh my God, Philippine Startup Week 2020, just 2 weeks ago. Oh my goodness. And I know that this was something that you work so hard with the rest of the Kubo family and all, of course, all of our partners. And we really talked about not only the state of the Philippine startup economy, but also what are the things that we can see, right, as we move on to 2021 or the future. So what for you is that future looking like, especially coming from the Philippine Startup Week? So maybe we can talk about that for a sec.
Okay, I guess coming from Philippine Startup Week, I did not realize actually that we could do something that huge of an event fully online, honestly. So again, I guess to provide context to our listeners, last year was the first ever Philippine Startup Week that Team Asia also was. Team Asia was there. They were the ones who really helped us with the event. But we got around 5,000, 6,000 people. But that's from all over the country because we had different events happening also. But now that it's online, the second run of Philippine Startup Week, our very first virtual event, we got over 10,000 attendees. So that goes to show that a lot of the online events and conferences are here to stay, and it's probably even better sometimes because I didn't realize that, or parang I saw a huge the engagement was actually better. I don't know if it's because it's just easier to go, quote unquote, go to this conference, diba? Because you just have to be online. You should just have to listen. So I think that's one thing that is here to stay is online. A few things that was discussed also during Startup Week is the future of the culture and teams and how things will work in the company. And it seems like, again, remote work is here to stay. It might even be even the new normal, or it already is the new normal for teams to actually really for teams to work remotely. But that also doesn't mean that everything is like for us, for example, in Kubo, we've hired 2 people that we haven't met, right? But I do feel like there's certain things still that are needed that you need to do physically. You need to meet with someone. It's different pa rin, diba? Like, so we're actually thinking of a team building, but like with all the protocols in place, but that's probably next year. That's definitely next year now. overall, with the future of the Philippine startup ecosystem in the future, um, actually, the pandemic has fast forward a few things. It made the growth of certain startups accelerate faster. Like I mentioned earlier, fintech, agri-tech, e-commerce, um, and edtech. Those are the four industries that we're seeing na parang wow, they're doing really well, as also because it's an essential thing. So that's also something that we know that will stay until 2021. So yeah, those are some of the snippets that happened in Startup Week that I feel like is a good representation of what will happen in 2021.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, Natasha. It's very exciting because as a consumer, I know exactly that I mean, I can feel it that these are the startups that are really pushing forward with these solutions. Fintech, you see it all the time. Agritech, I can see people coming up already with all of these different solutions, right? E-commerce is an everyday thing. Every day. And, there are all of these different sales popping left and right. But more importantly, things that you thought you had to go out for right now is already made available to you online because of the restrictions, but also accelerated access to all of these things. And I love what you said. The pandemic also allowed us to actually accelerate growth of many of these different startups and also possible solutions, right? Fantastic. Now that we've talked about the future, Natasha, what is your hope for Kubo and the Filipino startup ecosystem?
So I think this year, actually, I was just crunching some numbers last week, and I saw our expenses, or saw some numbers like our number of partners. And one thing that was different this year as compared to the rest of the years is that we actually onboarded a few partners, a few funding partners this year. And that's why I was saying I'm so busy this year. I'm blessed to still have work. I'm blessed to still have so much to do and so many activities and initiatives lined up. And it's because of these partnerships. And if there's one thing that I hope for, not just for Kubo, maybe just to generalize, both for Kubo and for the Philippine startup community and the ecosystem, is collaboration. It's really collaboration. Like I hope that this pandemic made us realize that we're better and stronger if we do things together. If we don't have to, try to do things on our own. And that's not just for startup founders, but also government and private companies and SMEs. Like, you don't have to build your own chatbot. You don't have to, hire your own delivery and logistics team. You don't have to do this and to do that. You can actually find solutions because the solutions are already existing out there. You just have to partner with each other. And isn't that great, diba? If that we help each other out and we help the economy. I think that's also one thing that I wish a lot of the big companies, again, this mostly for government and also the private institutions, not to attack them in any way, but I wish that they also realize that there are certain things that we can just have someone else do it, because that's probably not our strength. It's not probably something that, let's say for me, it's not something that I can do well, because my focus is, I don't know, providing service to the public. But if I'm looking for a solution to automate certain things, then why don't I just work with startups? And I think if we were really to help each other out and collaborate and have government and corporates and startups really work together, I think it'll just be a lot easier, and it's good for the country. So why not? So that's my wish for the ecosystem. That's my wish for Kubo, is for our future partners or potential partners to work with us, because again, it's just I don't see why we shouldn't, right?
Oh, of course. It's as simple as that. We want to make sure that we're able to collaborate so that we can all be stronger and better together, just like what you said, right? There's just so much, like there's this, what do you call this? There's this saying, right? It's an African proverb that I super love, and it's something that we've said over and over again. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And I think that absolutely encapsulates what you said. So thank you so much for that one. So with all of your hopes and dreams, Natasha, that you've shared, What's next for Kubo? What's next for Kubo in 2021? Are there initiatives that we have in the pipeline? Like, what are the things that we can share?
Oh, there's so much. Where do I even start? For 2021, there's actually a few things that we're super super duper excited to launch. But so okay, maybe let me start with the current programs that we have that will spill over to 2021. Besides our basic programs, and what I mean by basic programs is that every month we have a networking event that we call Q-Litan. We have a Startup 101 class that we call Basics with a Q. We have workshops with a Q. We have feedback with a Q. Most of our programs have a Q in it, right? That's for branding purposes. But besides our regular program, which is really supporting startups and really providing awareness and educational activities for entrepreneurs or even wannapreneurs and the youth. We right now, as we speak, we are on our first month of our incubation program with the U.S. Embassy, where we're incubating 15 early stage startups. So that will spill over to next year. So next year, January and Feb, and then by March we will be graduating them. What does that mean? That means that hopefully the 15 startups graduate from the program and they become, we really help them. That's what an incubator does, but like an incubator, it helps the baby survive. So that's what we're trying to do also. So that's with the US Embassy. We are I'm hoping that people look out for our graduates, because those are probably some of the startups that they should know about. But other than that, we have another incubation program that I'm not supposed to say it, but I'm gonna say it anyway. We're gonna launch it. We're going to launch it next week. So you heard it first here. This is with Youth Business International, supported by Google.org. So we have an incubation program also that we're launching next week. So again, this is the first time you're hearing this, but we're launching next week. Check out our social media pages or our website. But this incubation program is specifically for startups who are helping during this pandemic, or startups that are pivoting because of the pandemic. So this is really to support startups that got affected by COVID-19. So that's launching next week, and we are looking for a few startups, and you just need to submit your application. We'll go through it, we'll choose a few startups, and then those startups will go through dedicated mentorship workshops, classes. I always say this, once you're an incubatee of Kubo, you can ask us anything as long as it's legal. But you ask us anything. So we've had some startups. We've had some startups that would ask random things like, oh, we need tablets. We got Smart Foundation to sponsor them tablets, or oh, we need to be connected to this particular executive. We do that. So we try as much as we can, because we are very well connected, right? Another, I guess one of the last thing that I want to highlight also in terms of the programs of Kubo is our Startup Pinay program. So our Startup Pinay program is, it's pretty obvious, it's Startup Pinay, but it's really providing more support to startups that have female founders, or C-level C-levels that are female. So Startup Pinay, this is in partnership with Investing in Women, or the Australian Embassy, and we're not just launching different campaigns. We're going to be so loud next year, but also those who will be in the Startup Pinay program will have pretty much more support, funding, mentorship. So that's one thing that I'm super duper excited about next year. We've been really planning this since Q3 of this year, but we fully launch it next year.
That's awesome. I'm so excited for you guys. It's like I just want to be able to like just go into all of those programs. So I'm looking forward to finding out what happens to all of those things. But I love what you said earlier, Natasha. It goes back to the collaboration, right? And your visual your visualization of what an incubator is. It's really making sure that we help the baby survive, grow, and thrive, right? I want to make sure that that happens. And just by the initiatives that you've shared, like, providing the funding, the mentorship, but more importantly, the overall support for all of these initiatives is just absolutely amazing. And I can't wait to see how that is going to pan out for 2021. I do have one last question, and it may be cliche, but I need to ask it because you are so much at the core of this ecosystem. You've seen it all, and I want to make sure that we are able to share the love, right, and the wisdom to all of our aspiring entrepreneurs or startup folks. What would be your advice for hopeful and aspiring individuals who are planning to venture into this space?
Actually, we've talked about this already, kanina. So I will have to just emphasize it again. No, never stop learning. I think a lot of I've encountered some startup founders that are quite stubborn, or they think that no, they have the best idea, the greatest solution, this and that. But if there was one thing that we learned this year is to be humble, right? It really broke us down, it humbled us down. And like we've been saying, it's a year full of learning. So if at this point, no, it's already December, 2020 is about to be over, and you haven't learned one thing this entire time, that you could have been, attending workshops and classes and having all these like free things, like I don't know, Kubo classes that are all fully free, right? Then you need to really introspect and then figure out what's happening, because this year is supposed to be a year full of learning. So never stop learning. Always remember that there's always something to improve on. That you're not, I actually have these two tattoos on my wrist. One is resilience and one is humility, and both of it combined, I think, is a good reminder that that there's always something to learn. And no matter for specifically for our startup founders, I know that this is tough. I know that this is a challenging year. But please do remember, like we've been saying, that there's help out there. You just need to look for it. There's so much support, not just Kubo, right? Support from different private companies and support from government. You just have to look for it, and you just need to ask for help.
I love it. Resilience and humility. Thank you so much for sharing your tats, Natasha. Because it's so true. Like, you're right. If there's anything that we all felt and during this 2020, it's humility. But it's also actually finding the grit and determination in all of us. So I think that that's a fabulous way of sharing your pieces of advice to all of our startup founders or those who want to venture into this field. Guys, never stop learning and just do it, right? At this point, let's just do it. All right, so Natasha, I love that we ended on that note, because it's not just a message of hope for 2021 or the future, but it's also just so grounded on reality of what's happening now. It's not all bad. We're doing the best we can, but more importantly, we're doing a lot of great things together, and I can't wait for this to happen even more in 2021. So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, once again, we had the Wonder Woman, Natasha Bautista of Kubo Innovation Hub. Such a fantastic, quick, beautiful brunch conversation on a Saturday morning. Natasha, once again, thank you so much, not only for imparting your insights and your experience, but more importantly, just sharing your energy with everybody this morning and giving everybody a taste of the ecosystem. Before I let you go, I need to ask you for something we do here at B2B, Breakfast to Business, which is to give everybody a food for thought for the rest of the week. So, given what we've talked about and us like trailblazing into 2021, what is it that you want to share with our listeners today?
Okay, I know that we've been talking about, all the good things, and we've been talking about never stop learning and this and that. Food for thought for this week, I think, is also take the time to pause. Like, it's so hard. It's okay. It's okay that sometimes you feel stuck. It's okay to break down every now and then. So I think if there's one thing, maybe this is also coming from me because Philippine Startup Week just ended. So take the time to also pause, but don't get stuck there. Get up, be resilient, get up and start moving. But take the time to pause, but make sure to unpause after a while. So that's it.
I love that. I love that. Unpause. Please unpause yourself. No, but absolutely. If I can already just like ride on that, if you're giving a food for thought, I'm supposed to be giving a reality bite. And I think the reality bite, really, guys, of 2020 and what Natasha has been sharing actually the whole segment is we all need to learn how to fail fast. And this is something that we've all experienced this 2020, whether we're a startup or an entrepreneur or just getting by 2020, we've all experienced this one. Let's all learn to fail fast. And like what Natasha said, I'd like to just really piggyback on that one. We are all taking a pause. December is almost nearing. Let's take that break. Let's take that holiday break to feel refreshed, re-energized. Let's just bring in the sparkles, take time for yourself, and suit up for 2021. Because the most important thing is for us to show up for that one. Because that is going to be a year of recovery and a year of awesomeness that I can't wait to see. So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us in this morning's Breakfast to Business with Miss Natasha Bautista.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Super enjoyed.
Of course. Of course. And Natasha, if people want to know more about Kubo, where can they find you guys?
Yeah, just go to our website. It's qbo.com.ph. And we're very active on Facebook. So just look for Kubo Philippines, QBO. Again, that's QBO, but it's you say Kubo as in the Bahay QBO. That's it.
So there you go, guys. Don't forget, QBO. I love that. So Kubo Innovation Hub. And of course, you know where to find B2B. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're on LinkedIn. And of course, our wonderful website, www.teamasia.com. So at this point, we would just like to wish everybody a happy Saturday. Have fun, guys. And remember, let's spread the love by staying safe and sound. Thanks, everybody. And thank you once again, Natasha. Happy Saturday!
Happy Saturday!